You're watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You can watch us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, every Facebook, every social media platform. I urge you to tune in and listen today, especially because I have an extremely distinguished guest. His name is Dr. Cherie Thanedar. He is my neighbor. He is my representative in the state legislature, and he is my friend. So it's a pleasure to have you, Cherie. Thank you so much for joining me today on Chop It Up.
Attorney Linda Bernard, my friend, my neighbor.
That's correct.
Police commissioner, you got elected.
That's correct.
You know, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud to say you my friend and you my neighbor. And when you said we should have some conversation on air,
yep,
I just jumped at it. I rearranged my schedule and I decided to be here because I didn't want it to miss this.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate your time and your consideration. But I want to talk about so many things about you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't familiar with Cherie until he obviously ran for governor. He captured the hearts and minds of millions of Michiganders in that race as a first-time candidate, an outside candidate. But before we get to that, I want to tell you why that impressed me, but before we get to that, Cherie, I want you to tell our audience about you, where you're from, and let me tell you why this is important, ladies and gentlemen. His Mother's Day message 2 years ago moved me to tears because of the fact it reminded me so much of what's happened to African American families in this country. My parents are from Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the country. And Cherie's experiences were far more dramatic than those of my parents. But I'd like him to share what he shared in that Mother's Day message with you about where he lived, how he was raised. Go ahead, Cherie. So you'll understand the man. In order to understand the philosophy and everything, whether it's a Donald Trump or anybody else, you have to understand their roots and their beginning. And I want you to tell us about that.
Thank you, Linda. And it's such an honor to be here on your show. I grew up in India. So I was born in a small town, a southern small town, and my father worked for the government. He worked for the government for 30 years, and then, he lost his job, and the family fell into...
What was the family? What did it consist of?
Well, I have 6 sisters and a brother, so a big family. 2 of the sisters are from my father's first marriage, and his first wife passed away, and my mother, who was much younger than him, they got married, and then she was taking care of these 2 girls who were, maybe like 8-10 years younger than her. So This young woman comes into my dad's family, and after several years, the family fell into financial hardship. And my mother is a rock, and she's my hero. My mother is a strong woman, and she raised us. She was tough. She demanded that, we live a fair and ethical life. Transparent honesty was important. When you give your word to somebody, that word is like gold. You got to honor your word. So,
go ahead.
So my mother taught me a lot.
Well, not only that, what I learned from the Mother's Day message that you did is that you were in your house was like one room. You had a dirt floor, as I recall. That is where you ate, where you slept, where the family was together in the one room. It was 8 kids?
Yeah.
And two adults. 10 people.
10 people.
in one room.
Yeah.
There are other stories like that about other African Americans in our country. Sherman Sharp is one, the football player. He had 10 kids, and they were in a house that had a dirt floor, etc. So there are other people in America that have experienced that same level of hardship, but I'm not sure it was as extreme as what you revealed in the letter to your mother.
Well, we had no running water in the house. So when we needed water, drinking water, my mother and I would take a little pot or a bucket and we'll walk across the street, and there is a municipal water source. Only 2 hours, the water in a day. There will be drinking water tab will be running, and there'll be a line of residents standing, taking their turn to fill up their pots and pans, and then we'll take that and use that as our drinking water, water for cooking, for
Bathing, everything.
Well, for bathing, we had a well in the back.
Okay.
That water was not good enough to drink, but it was good enough for washing clothes and bathing. So I have to, the well had a little pulley, and I had a little string on it, and we pull buckets and fill a big huge tank in the house. So that would be my water for rest of the day, and every day me or my dad will have to do that to fill the water, and then during the day for 2 hours we'll go get our drinking water. Electricity may be there, maybe not. Half the time we won't have electricity, so I would have candles. When I'm studying, I would put candles and study for my exam.
So you were in school. Where did you go to school when you were in India?
Well, I went to school in the small town. We had a college, a high school and a college.
What about grade school?
Grade school was in the same town, and the grade school was an abandoned building. There was this huge big mansion that got, people believed there were ghosts in there, so that thing was abandoned, and there was rain and the building was destroyed. So that's the building that was made into a school. We had one teacher, and she would manage multiple classes.
1 through 12.
1 to 12. And I would not have shoes. Most of the kids could not even afford shoes. So we would walk barefoot to the school.
How far was that?
The school was not very far. It was only like half a mile from my home. But it was not any fancy school,
No, I know. My father, John Bernard, went to a one-room schoolhouse in Mississippi. And in that schoolhouse, they taught grades 1 through 12. But in that schoolhouse, because the teacher really cared, he developed an appreciation for art and literature, only liked classical music, could write beautiful poetry. It's amazing what you can do when you are committed to learning.
True.
You were committed?
Absolutely.
Tell me how, and why would I know that?
Well, because that's my family. Education was important.
Okay, how come the education is so different in the Indian family versus other families in America?
Well, look,
What are we missing here?
My
What are we missing?
my father always said, you will always, the education that you get, it will always be there with you rest of your life.
Your father and mother say it differently than I say it. I say what's between this ear and that ear cannot be taken away from you.
Exactly.
Your rings, your watch, your money, your car can be taken. But what's between this ear and that ear cannot be taken away from you.
Absolutely.
So your parents were right.
My parents insisted. So, we have to do our homework. We have to do our studying. Even my sisters, they all have to focus on education. And everything else, makeup and clothes and parties, and none of that mattered. What mattered was studying, learning was important. Math was important. Science was important. I started learning math when I was 4 years old.
Okay.
My mother would just help me work on math problems. So and that's why, I care so much about early childhood education. Because if we give the child math skills, if we give the child reading skills in when they are 4 year old, I have grandchild who is 4 year old,
Okay.
and I can see the young children. They have so much capacity to learn.
Yes, they do.
That their mind is very active. They want to learn, and a lot of times what happens is the child is just sitting in front of a TV, doesn't get a chance to learn and solve math problems or read or be read to. It is so important, but a lot of times parents are struggling too. Single parents, they have to go earn a living, take care of their job so they can pay for the rent and put food on the table. So it is very difficult, and that's why in the state house we are focusing on early childhood education, making child care affordable.
But does it matter if, in fact, the parents aren't focused on education? If the parents are focused on music or entertainment or this or that, I mean, how does you say your parents were totally focused on education and your development? That you were there, everything. So the 8 of you, so they did it with every one of you, girls, boys, everything. But so how do we address this problem with the American family, which has a number of distractions and everything else? What do you think about this? Since you've now experienced 2 cultures.
Well, depends. When you are a single parent, and many families do, a single mother or a single father, you have multiple responsibilities. You have to take care of the kids, but you also have to take care of your job. Transportation is an issue. You may not have the right transportation. You may not have the space, the time, the money to own a car, pay for the insurance. So there are multiple challenges our parents face in this world today, and they can't totally devote, and so we need some help from the government. We need some help from the state to make this easy.
But being a single parent is a choice. In India, people don't make that choice.
They do. But you know what? Parenting is tough. Parenting is tough, and taking care of family. Look in Detroit area, for example. In my district, in 13th district, 30% of the residents are living at or below poverty level, and that is certainly not acceptable. And
more than 30% were living below the poverty level in India.
True.
Okay.
But look, we.
But you still went to school, and you still focused. Your parents focused you on education. That's what you said.
That's right. So we need to. I think education is very important. The quality of education. That's what we must focus on, and we want to make sure that a child, no matter where he or she lives, no matter what zip code he or she lives, should get the same quality of education. So sometimes you see Bloomfield Hills, or you go to Saline, and they have schools that look like 5-star hotels, beautiful gymnasium, a beautiful, classrooms, and all this technology, and computers and screens and all over. And then you go to Pershing High School, or you go to Osborne, or you go to some of the high schools or grade schools in Detroit, and I see water on the gym floor. I see not having enough supplies. I've seen teachers putting money out of their own pocket to buy supplies for their schools. And that's no way to run an education system. That's no way to run public schools. And we need to bring the funding. And that's why, what we did this year, for the first time, we have been able to have per pupil funding. That's the same across the state. We have raised that per pupil funding now in 2023 to about $9,150
Okay,
per.
and as I tell people, the money follows the student.
Yes.
If I go to school in Bloomfield, then the money goes with me.
Yes.
If I go to school in Detroit, the money is here with me in Detroit. Your commitment and passion for the community is very insightful, particularly I think because in your culture did not provide the sort of government subsidies that you're talking about, that you're advocating for in Detroit and throughout the country, I assume now. So it's very different. I mean, in your culture, personal responsibility was paramount. Is that correct? It was your father's responsibility to take care of you, your mother's responsibility to take care of you. Is that correct?
Yes, but also the state. We were poor, and I could not afford fees for my college. So my college was paid for by the government.
Okay, that's
And
good.
because I was able to get public education free of cost, I was able to get a bachelor's degree in chemistry
In India?
in India.
Okay.
And I got a master's degree in chemistry, and I didn't have to pay for my education.
So the difference in America, okay, the family structure is different because it's generally a two-parent household. They don't have single mothers there for the most part, unless they're widows, like you said. But the difference is that the government funds public education. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So especially if you're poor, below a certain income level, you don't end up. You get scholarships, you get subsidiaries, you get money, so that you don't end up paying for education.
Okay, that's good.
And when I came over to this country, so I was 24 years old when I immigrated to United States.
Where'd you come into? I mean, where did you live first?
First, I lived in Ohio, Akron, Ohio.
Okay.
And I went to school there, and I did not had money to come over. Actually, I came over so that I can lift my family out of poverty. I had $20. That's all I had when I came to America.
And so you went to the school?
I went to the school, but the school did one good thing. They gave me a job as a teaching assistant. So I taught undergraduate labs. I got paid $300 a month.
Okay.
I would only get paid for 9 months, but they'll pay me $300 a month as a stipend or a fee, and I would take $75 of that $300 and I'll send it home.
Right.
And that allowed my mother to put food on the table and take care of the family, because my father wasn't working then. He was home, he didn't have a job, and so I had to support my family. And so
you lived off $225 a month?
Back then, yes.
But you know what's interesting about that?
Yeah.
My uncle did that from Mississippi as well for my grandmother. He was in the service though. He was only making about $300 a month, and he would send half of his check. Well, he was single, which was like back to Mississippi.
Yeah.
So I understand that. I mean, that's a level though of character. And it shows how substantive you are as a person, how much you care about your family. And that's important. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. We welcome your comments, your everything, that you subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook. Follow us weekly. Today our guest is the very distinguished Dr. Cherie Thanadar, and I want every family in our community and throughout the world to sit their kids down in front of this broadcast. If it's not now, you can watch it later on YouTube, and listen to what he's saying. This is so important to me that parents hear from a young man who has done all of these things with his life, who lived in one room with his whole family with a dirt floor, 10 people. So, and as he said, had no plumbing, etc. So I want you to pay attention to this. And so we know we have more resources than that in the city of Detroit. We've got food stamps. Housing is a challenge right now. But we've got a lot more going for us, most families do, than Sharif Thanadar had with his family. So please let him be an inspiration to you. Please listen carefully. And as he said, please read, write, think. Focus on your education, or as some people say, your education. Back to Dr. Sharif Thanadar. Go ahead. So you were sending $75 a week.
Yeah,
and you're making $300 a month.
300 a month, and then in summer there is no labs to teach, so they wouldn't pay us in summer. And in one summer, I could not afford to pay the rent because 3 months no payment, no stipend, and we weren't allowed to work on the campus. Well, they didn't have many jobs on the campus, so I was able to get a waiter job. So I would wait on tables, but as much as I can. But I couldn't afford my rent, so I started sleeping in my car. So that whole summer I slept in my car.
I see. And just use the bathroom and shower. Were you
Well,
able to use the gym facilities at the
Yeah,
school?
the school had the gym
Showers
facilities and the
yeah.
showers, but I would sleep at
What kind of car did you have that you were sleeping in?
I had an Impala, I think, an Oldsmobile that I bought it for $200.
Okay.
No
But
insurance.
it has big seats, so that was not a bad sleep.
No, that's not the bad. See, when it got too hot sometime, then I would go in the chemistry building, and there was a seminar room, so I would have my backpack and I would spread it on the floor in the seminar room, and I'll sleep there.
I see.
And then one time somebody found that out, and then I had to leave the building.
Right. They gave you the boot.
Yes.
Okay, so after you did that summer, then what happened in terms of your
Then
life?
I came to Michigan. So
Okay, what brought you to Michigan?
Yeah, I got my PhD in chemistry, and then I came to Michigan.
Chemistry is based on mathematics, isn't it?
Chemistry is
In large
best.
measure?
Yeah, chemistry is like your pharmaceuticals, your plastics, everything is everything is a chemical, right?
This tablecloth
Tablecloth
is a chemical.
Yeah.
Is a
And
chemical makeup.
yes, our clothes are chemical, plastics, and so I came to Ann Arbor, Michigan. I wasn't sure if my car would make it all the way to Ann Arbor from Akron, Ohio. And I got a job at the University of Michigan as a postdoctoral scholar to do more research, more innovation. So my PhD and work I did was electric batteries. Now back then,
Nobody was even thinking about them.
nobody was thinking about them. This was very, very early academic research. And I'm so glad to see that has now become a commercial reality.
Yep.
But back then it was only
But no, that's just because you were a pioneer. that's all that means.
Yeah,
That you were ahead of your time.
back then it was just an academic curiosity. So I worked on batteries for commercial automotive batteries, electric batteries, making special polymers for the battery operation. So that's what I did. I did some research innovation at the University of Michigan in 1982. The very first day I came to Ann Arbor and I parked my car, I must have parked it in the wrong spot. I came back from the chemistry department back to my car that evening, and I got a parking ticket. And I think the parking ticket was like $40, and that wiped out half of my net worth back then.
Wow. So you only had $80. That was your net worth.
Until I get paid, because I was a student back then.
Right.
And I'm thankful to the state of Michigan. That's where I got my first real job in this country, and I'm grateful to the United States for welcoming me. I spoke differently, I looked different, and yet.
But you came in legally. That's the
I
point.
came in legally, and this country welcomed me,
Okay.
and this country welcomes immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants.
That's absolutely correct.
And the immigrants have brought in their knowledge and their passion to our country, and part of the reason why we are the world's most powerful country, richest country, is because of how well we welcome immigrants, and I felt as I became more successful, ran my businesses, I became more
You
successful.
started a business.
I started a business back in 1990. Actually, I bought a small business. So there was a woman who was 65 years old. She wanted to retire. She had a little business, consulting business, where she did innovation and solving problems, chemical related problems. And I bought that business from her for $75,000. I got a loan from the bank and started that business, and I grew that business. From the 3 employees, she retired. Her secretary, who was even older than her, she retired. So I only inherited one chemist when I started this
Wow.
business. And then I took that business to more than 500 employees. By 2010, the business was in multiple states. And now I had a business in Michigan, I had a business in New Jersey, in Colorado, Florida, Missouri, all over the place. And
You weren't traveling by car anymore. You were flying, zoom, zoom,
yes.
up and away.
Yeah. So I built up this technology business. I hired a lot of people, and I helped develop new technology, new medicine, new plastics, new coatings, paints, all kinds of things. One of my product my company did. You know those whiteboards where you paint something.
Yeah, you can write on it
Write
and then
on it.
wipe it off.
That paint was invented by my company.
Oh, right. So you are responsible for the whiteboards.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
And then we invented.
Now we got rid of the blackboards. We got the whiteboards.
We invented a lot of medicine for diseases. We even invented. When one of my customers, she had several dogs. She's an animal lover, dog lover, and she was concerned that, and she lived in areas where there is a lot of snow, and she was concerned that her dog is walking and the paws, the snow was hard on their paws. So she said, what can we do? And I developed a all natural formulation using beeswax and all kinds of things to put it on their feet and their paws, so that their paws won't get damaged, they won't get, it won't
From the
hurt.
ice and snow.
So we made that product, and I just made it for her, and she liked it so much that she started a company to sell that kind of product. And a lot of animal
What's it called?
pet owners, I don't know what she calls it now, but a lot of pet owners use that to protect the paws of their dogs and their cats and animals.
I see.
So
you're a problem solver.
I'm a problem solver because I had to solve problems. The way where I grew up, the difficulty we had in just normal day-to-day life, that I had to be a problem solver
And a scientist.
and a scientist.
And I really like that. I mean, and you obviously are a very, very deep thinker. And you've been trained, you've trained your mind to solve problems and to think and say, why? It seems to me that you think it's not the what happened, it's the why did it happen.
Yes.
Yeah. So you recreate, reverse engineer from the beginning. You do the whole shebang because of the way you think.
Yes.
And because of the way your mind has been trained. That is so refreshing because I tend to do the same kind of thing. I'm not as interested in the what. I want to know the why. And how do we get there? That is the steps to getting there. And so you did that. So you made this very successful company with 500 folks, etc. And and this is WJ. Before I ask you the question that we're going to get to, which is really important. I know, especially now. You made this company with 500 folks and everything, and then you decided to leave business, but all this success, all these multi-millions, all these employees, all these jobs you've created, and you decided, in my words, to giddy up.
Yeah.
So why'd you giddy up?
Well, what I felt was that I have gotten so much. My family is doing well. My children are doing well.
You brought your whole family over from
No,
India?
no, just my children. My wife got married
In
my
India?
In India. I got 2 children, grandchildren now.
Your mother?
My mother came to visit
Okay.
often, and she was very proud. She lived a tough life, and one of the things that I always say to my mother is that, you always struggled. Money was always a problem. Poverty was always a problem, and I'm going to be successful so that you and my family never have to suffer again. And that's the promise I made to my mother. And so when I started my company and my company became successful, I got an award for a top 50 companies, most fastest growing companies in the area. And when I got that award, I got several awards. Another award I got was Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yes, you did.
And when I got that award, I invited my mother to join me. She could not speak English, but she was very proud of me, and she came in, and this event was in a big 5-star hotel. There was everybody was in tuxedos and all the things.
Oh, wow.
And when I got the award, I took it and walked straight to my mother, and I handed that over to her. And I said, "Here, mother, this is all because of you."
Oh, she had to be so excited
Yeah.
and so happy.
Yeah.
That is wonderful, and that's what I gathered from your piece that you did on Mother's Day about your mom. Actually, you need to reprint that and republish it and send it everywhere. It tells a story about you
Yeah.
that politics doesn't tell. So ultimately, before we do that, you're listening to WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. You can watch us, listen to us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, every social media platform. I urge you to tune in, call us, let us know what you think. And especially today, since we're talking to a man who has shared his beginnings with us, which are extraordinary, and who now is at a different chapter in his life here in the city of Detroit, where he has sold his business, decided to be a public servant, and he did that first as a state rep, and that was a very competitive race that you ran. And I'm going to have you back on another time so we can just talk straight politics about how to be successful in politics, because you did it in a way that nobody else has ever done it before that I'm aware of. So we're going to do that. But so right now in your life, you're selling the company, and did you decide to run for governor?
Yes.
Okay, and how did that occur?
So,
Who was governor when you decided? Who were you running against? So everybody can have a context.
well, Rick Snyder was term limited at the time. So, it was an open seat. And on the Democratic side, I was running against Gretchen Whitmer for the Democratic nomination. And on the Republican side, there was Bill Schuette.
Okay.
So that was the race. And so I decided that, my family is doing well. What I need to do is give back.
Okay.
Give back to the society. Give back to our country that has given me so much. And
Hello.
blessed.
Yes.
Hi, Linda,
Yes.
the caller. I just wanted to compliment your show and say it's a great story. And I was wondering if Sri could elaborate on his plan for the congressional seat.
Yes, he can. That's a great question.
Yes, I'd be happy to.
I was just trying to get him there, but okay, because he initiated all this when he ran, as he said, as a Democratic candidate against Gretchen to be governor, and you got the nomination.
No, I did not get the Democrat. She got the nomination.
Okay,
but I won the city of Detroit.
Yes.
So Roger. So my motivation is to serve the people. because I have lived all over America, but nowhere I felt at home. Nowhere I felt as welcome, as warmth and appreciation as I felt in the city of Detroit.
Okay.
The neighborhoods of Detroit, the people of Detroit welcomed me with a lot of love and a lot of appreciation. The sense of community that we have in Detroit, I have not seen anywhere else.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that as a native Detroiter.
Yeah, so I love it here. And my focus really is to represent this district in the nation's capital. Work on things like healthcare. We are the richest nation in the world, and our healthcare, many millions of people are out of healthcare. They worry every day about cost of prescription medicine. They worry every day about making choices whether to take care of their health, whether to pay for their medicine or pay for the food or other expenses. So I want to make healthcare affordable for all the people, regardless of a person's financial status. I want to work on reparations. I feel that our government did something wrong to the African American community, and we need to acknowledge the mistakes of the past, and we need to make a level playing field.
That's Jesse Jackson's word. You know that, right?
It is?
Oh, yes. He developed that term. That you have to have a level playing field, where the goals are clear, the rules are clear. Everybody can see when you make that touchdown. I mean, it has to be a level playing field. Otherwise, the playing field is unfair and uneven.
Yeah, and Congressman John Conyers, he introduced the reparation bill every session.
Yes, he did.
That was his passion, and I respect him. I have a lot of respect for Congressman Conyers, and I want to take his dream of reparations, making things better for the black and brown community, and that's my goal. Look at what happened at the Black Bottom, Hastings Street.
Yeah.
We had a very vibrant African American community right here in Detroit. There were small,
very successful
black-owned businesses. Remember the record store that Vaughn owned.
Right, but it was a very successful community, and then they gerrymandered I-75 right through it in order to eliminate that community.
1960, when the federal money came in, they put I-375, whatever 6-8 lane highway, right down where the Black Bottoms was.
But it was intentional. My office, I headed legal services for 16 years, and our office handled that lawsuit in federal court. It's actually it's a consent decree, and it's actually still going on even after all these years. All those people whose houses were taken and so forth, it's very hard to track them down, but we were able to track them down. They've all gotten money or getting money, but it was an intentional act of discrimination to wipe out the black business community, and it did it.
It did it. And look at the value that was lost. Look at the home values that were lost.
It was incredible.
It was incredible. And look at what that did to the community, the injustice that was done. So I want to reverse that. I want to get rid of that highway and put Black Bottom back in that spot, have black businesses be back in that area, and the black music and food and restaurants and all kinds of things. So that is one of my passion.
Okay, but you understand that's a tall order, and maybe we could develop like we are right now in Livernois and maybe Gratiot and other areas, so that we can obviously bring more black businesses in and make them more successful.
Absolutely.
Because the freeways are important now. My sister says people hit the ditch into Detroit, and they hit the ditch going out, so they don't have to deal with the community. The freeways created the suburbs, quite frankly, and the great economic and divide within this community, and also racial divide. But it is what it is. And I don't know about getting rid of the 70-75, but I think we can do some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we need to make right what past wrongs have. We need to change that. We need to make it accessible. We need to have education accessible. So we need to improve the quality of education.
Well, see, and I agree with you about that, because your whole life has been education, and your life demonstrates the importance of it on an individual basis as well as on a community basis. That is something, I think that we all can agree on. But right now, first of all, before we got to your campaign, I really want to talk about your
Yes.
achievements as a representative, because very few times in life do you find people who have really earned the right. And earning the right is more than being a person of color or being even educated or anything. That my mother used to say all the time, if you want to know about somebody, check the record book. So you got to check. So checking the record book on you, Sharif Thanadar, is very impressive. This is my last brochure I got on you and your representation. What you've done as state representative, Sharif Thanadar, year in review,
Yes.
2021. Every resident of the district got this. And the cool part about it is usually, we get that folded up thing that doesn't really, you got to unfold it and look at. This is, as my mother would say, concise and precise. And that's the beauty of it. Quote, in the budget part, he brought to Detroit 300,000 grants for community projects. 2, he increased investments in education at every level, from pre-K to trade schools. He brought in $196 million to repair crumbling critical infrastructure. $100 million in new community revitalization grants to redevelop neighborhoods and support small businesses. And then the historic investment in child care, he developed that to decrease costs for working families, expand access, and support providers. He's working with the families of the Detroit Public Schools community who are fighting for the right to literacy. He's supporting small business and promoting entrepreneurship, which he is an entrepreneur, so he knows what he's talking about. He's fighting for equity in healthcare, education, and the economy, because he's a scientist. He knows these things. This isn't poppycock. This isn't, just sort of, he's a nice looking guy and this, or, he talks real great or anything. He's about it. He's about business, which is so very important. He's helped 460 unemployment cases. He introduced his bill, House Bill 5003, was signed by Governor Whitmer, creating a public act that provides funding for environmental cleanup and monitoring. He introduced 18 bills and resolutions. I know people that have been up there for years who've never introduced a single bill. He co-sponsored 292 bills. He's done 22 community walks, 6 coffee hours. He has sponsored trips for community members to Lansing. And more importantly than that, and this is critical, ladies and gentlemen, he's had as our state representative, not before you even start talking about Congress here, he has 100% attendance in sessions and committees. Didn't matter. He has he does his vacations, his family issues, whatever, illness, anything does not interfere with him taking care of our business. That's what you're supposed to do when you're a rep, when you're a legislator. And what you're telling me now is that you're going to take care of business if you go to Congress. And I like your initiatives, but what's on our minds right now and everything, Cherie, is really related to what's happening internationally. And I want to talk about that a little bit and how these international things, including Ambassador Bridge, affect this community. Again, you're watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. You can watch us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Tune in, subscribe, give us a call, and we're going to talk about this international situation, and we're also going to talk about his goals as a congressperson. This is a critical time in our history. right now. There your faith in America is refreshing. We're the strongest country. Okay, you say we're the richest country, but none of the actual facts show that we're making real progress. So America is in deep shit. Excuse the expression. I know you don't curse, but we really are. And it's going to take a master plan, a scientific mind, and a science and the influence of clear thinkers who know how to look at a problem, solve a problem, to resolve it. So, what do you think about what's happening now? As they say, we're on the brink of war this week. Are you in favor of this? Where are you on this? If you were in Congress, how you coming out on these questions?
Well, peace is very important. We need to live in peace, and we need to stop being the world's policeman. We need to focus on our own country. We have people living in poverty, and we need to take care of Americans. We need to take care of people living in urban areas who are struggling. Our school systems aren't good. Our education system need to be improved. We need to create opportunities for our youth who feel that they have no hope. We have pipeline, school to prison pipelines, where young people don't see a future for themselves. We need to create those opportunities. We need to close the wealth gap between the rich and the poor. And the only way we can do it is through good education, and then giving people seed capital so they can own their own businesses. We need to support entrepreneurship. We need to support entrepreneurship in the black and brown community. Because $15 an hour, even if we raise the minimum wage to $15, it's not going to create generations of wealth.
We just did that. Didn't you guys just do that in the legislature?
We did it at the federal level, but at the commercial business level, it's still not achieved. But that alone isn't going to help. And now what used to be $15, we've been fighting for $15 for all this time. But today, with the cost and the expenses going up, it's going to be more
inflation.
With inflation, it's going to be more like $25 an hour for someone to be able to live a decent life.
But Cherie, our country is overwhelmed. We've got, $30 trillion in debt right now? More than any time in history. And we owe trillions to China, of all people, which I am totally inalterably opposed to, because I view China as our greatest threat. I think the internal issues that you're speaking about are critical. And the core of it is education.
Yes.
Education is the core.
And small businesses.
And small business.
Small businesses are the ones that create most of the jobs. And we need to empower people to start their own businesses, be innovative, be enterprising.
But see, as a congressional person, we need, I think, people to really take the lead on the global front as well as the domestic front. The benefit to you is that you have global experience. You weren't born here. You understand the Indian economy, for example, which is thriving. Incidentally, as I understand, it has some of the same issues we have with poverty, etc. Not as bad, but I'm just saying. Ours is not as bad. That's, I think. I don't know. You have to tell me. I want our country to be strong. I want our city to be strong. I want our state to be strong. And what I'd want in a legislator is a person that's focused on all three.
Yes.
Because you can't have one without the other. The 13th district can't be strong if the country's not strong. If the country's not strong, then we're sunk.
Yes.
And we have real threats right now that take your type of critical thinking.
Yes.
And that's what I want to expand your mind.
Yeah, we need to promote innovation.
Absolutely.
Michigan has more patents than any other state.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Michiganders are very innovative. Our city of Detroit is very innovative. And we need to focus on innovation. We need to focus on new technology. we need to teach and train our people. They need to get the skills not for this century but for the next century. We need to give them the skills for the new technologies that are coming, and we need to participate in this new technology, whether it's mobility, whether it is
AI, all
electric
of it,
cars,
yeah.
whether it is AI. Our people need to have those skills.
We're not
And
even close.
we're not
Cherie.
even close, but we need to.
Cherie, we ain't even in the ballpark
And you know what? If
because we've stopped reading.
and this is global economy. This is global economy,
Correct.
and we got to compete with every other nation in this world. And the only way we're going to do it is we're going to give the skills to our people, and focus on higher education, focused on trade skills. Not everybody has to go to a 4-year college, but we need to teach them. Give kids coming out of high school should have trade school education.
Well, the other night, I'm going to take you over there. We had the Board of Police Commissioners meeting on the East Campus of WC3. That whole campus now is developed is a skills training ground. I don't know if you may be aware of it. From
Yes.
truck driving, which pays $100,000 a year, to every other discipline, some medical, some others. I mean that you would be familiar with. I mean they're trying to push kids into careers that don't necessarily involve the incredible debt of university education in the United States. Would you be in favor of, for example, of public education being free at the university level?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, for people below a certain level,
Yes.
income, let's say below 100, families below 100,000 or something like that.
Yes, we need to make public education free of cost, and if we make that investment and we have more educated people, they will do better for themselves, and that will help our economy, and it will pay for it.
And an investment in skills training.
An investment in skills training, because you make a choice. You want to go to 4-year college, that's fine. You want to go not go to college but learn some skills,
Or
that's
trades,
fine too.
right,
Trades, and we need to respect the person that chooses a path to learn trade skills and not go to college. We need to respect this person as much as we respect a college graduate, or maybe more.
Is your wife in the medical field?
No, my wife is at home taking care of the children. She helped me raise 2 wonderful children, and now
She can relax a little.
yeah, and then now she's helping.
She sends you out every day.
Yes, but she is very supportive. Without her support, I could not do what I'm doing. So I love her. I thank her for what she does for me, for my boys. I don't know if you know, but my children, when my sons were 4 and 8 years old, their mother passed away. She suffered from mental illness.
And I know a lot about that too. Then.
And I lost my first wife and the mother of my children. And for a few years, I took care of these children as a single father. So I understand what it is, how difficult it is to be a single parent. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Shashi, and then we got remarried, and then she came in and helped me raise the boys. But mental health, mental illness is what that does to the family. I've seen it firsthand. And a lot of our problems, other than the COVID pandemic, we are also dealing with a mental health pandemic, and we need to really focus on mental health and providing that services. I think mental health is an underlying cause in a lot of different problems that
So
we have.
that'll be one of your priorities if elected to Congress as well. It's already your priority as a state rep, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
I want to thank everybody today for tuning in to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard. It's been a real pleasure to have my guest, the eminent, the prominent, the educated, the clear-thinking Dr. Cherie Thanadar. And I urge him always to use his title because he earned it. And it's important for people in our community to recognize and appreciate excellence at all times and personal development. You're an exciting guest. I want to bring you back not only to talk about the congressional race, but this whole journey in politics. We sort of cut it short there because I want to hear about the governor thing too, because that's what led you to the state legislature and now to wanting to go to Congress. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. And the next time we talk, I want to also talk about your new district, which I read a lot about in preparation for this, but we didn't get to it.
Yeah.
So I'll be ready on that topic. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone through his achievements as a first-time state rep. You've only been there 2 years. I like that 100% attendance. That means he knows how to go to work, and that's important because it's the hardest thing these days is to get somebody to come to work. So he comes to work, and that's what's important. And he also does the job as a state rep. So thank you for your attention today. Look forward. I look forward to part 2 with Representative Cherie Thanadar. Have a great day. Have a wonderful Valentine's. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Attorney Linda Bernard. And Police Commissioner Linda Bernard.
Okay, that's my passion. I know we got to go off the air, but those 7 officers that got shot last night in Arizona, that was very disturbing to me. So I know the DPD is on high alert right now. Have a great afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Great evening, great day, great life.